This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And you're listening to Python's Paradise, your film and music show. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, a.k.a. the Python Hyena. And folks, I have a wonderful guest on the phone. In fact, we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Gauntlet. But she goes way beyond that because she's not just an actress. She does stunts. She does everything. I'm talking about Marneen Lynne Fields. How do you do, Marneen?
Oh, hi, Greg. I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. Now you're in Australia and you're in your daytime, and here I am in the evening, and you're my second interview from Australia. What's it like there right now?
Well, it's actually absolutely beautiful today, but it was raining yesterday, and the weather here in Melbourne, Australia, you get all four seasons on any given day. It is very unpredictable. It gets very cold, and we're entering fall. We've just had the fall back with the clocks. So, and I'm not from Australia. I'm from Los Angeles. I just travel back and forth, and I married an Australian man, and so I'm in Australia, but when it's summertime and everything over in Los Angeles and in Canada, it's actually it's cold weather here. We're not only halfway across the world, our seasons are flip-flopped.
Yeah? Have you seen any kangaroos?
I haven't seen any kangaroos, but I'm near the beach here, and it's just lovely when it's a beautiful day. When it's cold, it just gets really cold, much colder than Los Angeles that I'm used to.
You gotta be careful with that box jellyfish, though.
They got lots of jellyfish here. I didn't go in the water.
Well, here's the thing with Australia. They got some of the most deadly snakes in the world. They got some deadly spiders, and they got the box jellyfish, which is one of the deadliest creatures in the world. But
oh my God!
Oh yeah, like if you go on, and I'm not trying to give Australia a bad name either, because I know when I was talking to Little Nell from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, she was kind of remarking very casually about it. But here where I am, here in New Brunswick, we don't have very many dangerous creatures. Maybe the odd black bear, or coyote or something, but we don't have our animals aren't too bad. But I guess in Australia they got quite a few deadly creatures, but then they got the marsupials like the kangaroo and odd creatures like the platypus and stuff like that.
Oh, that's good to know. I had no idea. Now, I heard about the Huntsman Spider, and he's huge. And my husband has told me he might get in the windows or show up in the ceiling, but he's not deadly. He's supposed to be very gentle and eat flies and stuff, but he's absolutely huge. He's as big as your hand.
Oh.
And I will die if I see a Huntsman Spider in here.
Yeah, well, they got, I don't know, it was like 7 or 8 of the top poisonous snakes in the world there, and like the Australian taipan, and but I guess they're not in real populated parts of the world. Although occasionally the tiger snake and brown snakes they can be, but but I don't know. Like I've never been to Australia, so I don't know how common those encounters are. So. But the only thing I encounter here is deer driving to work. They walk across the road, but
oh,
yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice if as long as they wait until I either go by or they give me a heads up so that I know they're going. Deer can be pretty hazardous here when they bolt at the wrong time, so I'm always cautious when I'm driving, especially at night. We get deer all over.
Oh my gosh! So yeah, they would take off, and you don't know which direction they're going to go.
Well, where I live, though, I think they're used to vehicles because most of the times now they just kind of stand and watch you drive by, and I kind of putter by them, but yeah, in the community areas, I'm actually surprised at some of the really almost towards the city areas where I'll see deer wandering around side of the roads at night. But so I'm always cautious. I've actually been pulled over twice by police for driving too slow at nights. And of course, when I mention that the deer, they kind of nod and like, yeah, okay, they understand. They get it.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I lived in Seattle growing up, and Renton, Washington, so I was pretty close to you.
In Seattle, Washington? Oh, yeah? Oh, I wonder.
Yeah, I was I grew up there went to school there a few years when I was young, and I remember the snow and the rain and everything. You get a lot of snow, though, where you're at, right?
Oh, yeah. I actually did an interview. I remember it very well. It was February 9th. I interviewed an author. And when I got outside from the interview, it was like 12:30 in the morning because it ran a little late. And I walked out, and there was a big snowstorm happening. And it took me 5 minutes just to get out of the parking lot.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yeah, I don't like driving in that kind of weather.
No, we had the snow went right up to our door locks on our cars, and but we're entering that springtime now. We still got snow out there, quite a bit of it, but here we are in April, and I think she's going to start to get warmer. I'm not a big fan of winter weather. I don't mind the snow, but I just don't like a tremendous amount of it because it's hard to drive in, especially added with freezing rain.
Yes, that's true. I'm very slippery. Let me ask you, how's my voice coming through? I'm on my cell phone in my office, actually in my studio, and am I coming through loud and clear? Or
You
is
sound
it
perfect.
How?
You sound perfect.
Great.
Yeah, you sound
I
perfect.
always worry with the cell phones, they break up and you just wonder.
Do you know where I'm located here in New Brunswick, Canada?
No, not exactly. I just know that I lived near Canada when I was a young girl.
Okay. Well, Steve Joyner was the one that hooked me up with you, and I was just wondering how you got connected with him. He told me to say hello, by the way.
Oh, great. Yes, I met Steve on Facebook, and he's been trying to get me on a couple of his shows, and he's had some changes in stations. Now, I will be doing a video show with him when I'm back in Los Angeles over the summer, and also appearing on his show Curtain Call.
Yep.
So I was thrilled. He did mention you, and there's another woman in New Jersey that would be interested in interviewing me.
Okay, yep. Yeah, he does have a show in collaboration in New Jersey, and I've heard some of Steve's Curtain Calls interviews. He's very good, and he sent me a lot of guests my way, and here we are now, and yeah, perfect. But we have a.
Well, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to talk to you today because we had just flown in when you called me a couple days ago, and the flight, it's crazy. It's 15 hours with a 6-hour layover and another hour from Las Vegas. And so I was not able to, I'm glad you gave me a couple days to recover from the jet lag before we spoke.
Yeah. Have you been to the Steve Irwin Zoo there yet?
Where at?
The Steve Irwin Zoo, the crocodile hunter?
Oh, no, I haven't, but I've heard of him, of course.
Yeah. Well, just wondering, before we talk about any of your films, I was just wondering if you give us some of your background.
Okay. Well, I was a class advanced all-around gymnast back in the 70s, And in 1973, I was one of 3 women in the entire United States to receive a full-ride scholarship in gymnastics to Utah State University. They didn't give scholarships in gymnastics to women back then. And so I was the top competing gymnast at Utah State, and I was ranked 3rd on floor exercise and 5th on balance beam. I actually had talent like Olga Corbett back in those days, if you remember her. And I was discovered by a stuntman, Paul Stater, who owned a stunt school in Santa Monica, and I had 3 years of college, and I went down to his school, and I said, well, this sounds great for my future. I was just going to become a gymnastics teacher, and which I was always doing. I was always coaching gymnastics along with, performing in gymnastics. And so I went down to his school, and I said, I'll give it 6 months or I'll go back to Utah, because my family was in California. And within 6 months to the day, I landed the movie of the week, The Spell, starring Lee Grant and a young Helen Hunt. And they cast me in the role. I was studying acting at Utah State also, along with the gymnastics and dance. And I read for the role, and I ended up getting cast as one of the mischievous schoolmates that provokes the psychic girl to cast the first spell. And what's so funny is that I also did the stunt, and I was hired because I could do a backward fall from the top of a rope in the gymnasium and without injury. So I did that, and then I got the series Man from Atlantis, so I did not return my final year to finish college that year at Utah, because within just like 6 months of that date, I was one of the top stunt women in the world. And by 1977, I landed the Gauntlet with Clint Eastwood and performed one of the most dangerous stunts ever captured on film, which was the jump off the moving train, where he says to the biker chick says, you wouldn't hit a girl, wouldn't hit a lady, would you? And he punches her off the train. And if you notice, I went off backwards and blind off that train and had to perform a half twist. And before hitting just sand. I was a pioneering stunt woman. And I went into sand and boxes way before they had airbags or air ramps. And you mentioned the 40-year anniversary of the Gauntlet. In December was my 40th year as a member of the Screen Actors Guild as an actress.
Wow. Yeah, and wow, that nailed you off that train. I guess you must have really got under his skin.
Yeah, I can definitely go into a little more detail about it for you. When I left the moving object of the train, we just introduced Clint Eastwood's The Gauntlet at the famous Astor Theatre here in Melbourne, Australia, to a sold-out crowd. My husband, who's a film historian, John Harrison, he created a question-answer session where I, for the first time, talked about that jump off the train and how really difficult it was. And one of the things that made it so difficult is that unless you leave that train going the direction that the train is moving and keep your body going that direction, which is very hard to do when you're going off backwards and performing a half twist in midair, you can get thrown back under the train wheels and crushed to death.
Oh.
So it's really no joke. Now, when I went off backwards, my body unexpectedly popped up into the air, and my body was flailing uncontrollably at the 15 miles an hour as the gravitational force of this gigantic train was pulling me alongside of it. Now, once the gravitational force field drops, you drop like a sack of hot potatoes, and you're thrown, and you see me just go head over heels in that sand dune until a cactus stops me. But it was, that stunt was so big. And then I also had the TV series Man from Atlantis starring Patrick Duffy. And so those jobs with the spell, that backward fall off that rope from the top of the gymnasium, it launched my career overnight. And all I can say is this, is that when you come from national gymnastics and the competitive level that I was at, everything you did, there were mats underneath when you landed. When you get out into the stunt arena, those mats are gone, and you're landing on concrete, on sand, on gravel, on your back, on your stomach. And I did these stunts for 12 years. While I continued to act, I just wanted to act or sing, as I am today, an award-winning singer and composer. But back in that day, I just wanted to act. I didn't want to have to do these stunts, but I had the talent, and I kept getting called. And so for 12 years, I did some of the most dangerous stunts ever captured on film that any young stunt girl, human body type stunts. I did some car stuff, but I wasn't known for car stuff like a Debbie Evans or something. Mine was all high falls, high jumps to the feet. They were throwing me out of jets onto my feet on the runway, and a hit and roll. I was set on fire and thrown out windows, and these high falls and high dives. And, I remember doing a fight on Wonder Woman where she beats me up as one of the twins on Mind Stealers from Outer Space episode. I fell on my back all day long on the floor of her apartment, but I was trained to do it and luckily came away without being injured. I then was injured very badly in the late 1980s in a car accident driving home from work one day, one of my stunt jobs. All these stunts, basically not a scratch, 12 years, so dangerous. And then I'm driving home one day in the rain, and a 19-year-old boy that worked in a textile wrapping company came through my driver door with a truck and changed the course of my destiny and my life because he disabled me, caused me a lot of abdominal operations. But there was a blessing in disguise, and through the car accident, even though I could no longer perform the stunts I had done and I lost that portion of my career, I was able to get in touch with my childhood dream of just wanting to be a singer and continuing to act. And those are dreams I'm reaching today, and those are being published in two about my life that are being published here in 2017, Cartwheels and Halos, a true Marneen Lynne Fields story, and Rolling with the Punches, that is my filmography from 1976 to the present, that my husband, film historian John Harrison, has created and is the writer on.
Wow. I'm glad that you were able to maintain a career even outside of stunts, and you were able to have developed talents in other areas.
It was a decade. I didn't think I'd ever get on my feet to walk again. After the car accident, I was in neck and pelvic traction for a year. A national gymnast, I couldn't hang laundry. My arms were on the steering wheel, my hands. When he came through the driver door, I somehow twisted and I was shoved into the gear shift. The whole left side of the car was taken off, and I have pictures of it, and I'll send you a picture for your video that goes with this whole amazing story and interview. And it took a year to walk again. It took a year to hang laundry again, to turn my head to the left again. And then as I got on my feet, and I took a few more years of, some stunt work because they released me to go back to work. I then collapsed. I was doing a Murder, She Wrote, and I was doubling Linda Hamilton as a tennis pro, and I took a step and go for the fly ball and reach back and fall onto my rump on the tennis court. Well, I completely ruptured internally, and they found these tumors had developed. The tissue had tried to regrow. So I ended up, for the next decade of my life, going through a series of abdominal operations where I literally fought for my life. I lived in heights of excruciating pain, and that's when I started singing. That was the only thing that healed me from all of this. And everything connected to my acting also was connected to this physical talent. So I lost a lot of that and started writing, writing and composing and going back to school and getting my degree in music and script writing. And all of that writing now, all these years later, is going to publish and come out in this next year and two. So it really is pretty amazing that, first of all, life can imitate art. My life became the tragedy living through that accident that I portrayed all those years. And then, being able to it's been very difficult. It's been very, very difficult to reach the level I've reached today in my career with all of the tremendous setbacks and obstacles that I don't know anybody that's had to face those kind of obstacles.
I'm just curious, what was it like working with Clint Eastwood on The Gauntlet? I mean, he's still going today.
He was the best. He was... I called the Malpaso Productions and let them know that we would be introducing the film here at the famous Astor Theater. Clint Eastwood was so incredibly handsome. First of all, you've got to get past just looking at him. He was drop-dead gorgeous, and here I was, 22 or 21 years old. Let's see, it was in 77, and I was born in 55. So I was 22 years old. And I'm taking his direction, and he was so nice. Sandra Locke was there. They were very much in love. But, I just could barely, I was there to do everything I could, and he loved what I did. As the train went by, and I jumped off it, and I finished the stunt and looked up. Here, I looked up and saw the train rolling backwards. Clint Eastwood jumped out of the train as it stopped. He hopped down, came over to me, gave me a hug, said he loved it. Years later, I did an article for Star Magazine. I made page 3 of Star Magazine, which is a coveted page of actors, and I had broke as an actress. Right before my car accident, everyone was sure I was like the next Johnny Depp as a female, and I had guest starred and co-starred in some big films and some TV shows, and I put Clint Eastwood's hug changed my life. I told her the Clint Eastwood story, and that's how she titled it in my page, my Star Magazine of page 3. And I'll send you a copy of that also that you can add to the clip here. But he was amazing. After the stunt finished, I got a call from Fritz Mans, who was Clint Eastwood's producer and childhood friend. They created all of this together. And he said, we have some photos of your stunt. I'm leaving you a drive-on to come on to Warner Brothers lot and pick up the photos. And I'm oh, my God, a drive-on. And so I went to Malpaso Productions, and I kind of knocked on the door, and no one answered. And I pushed the door open, there was Clint Eastwood. And I was alone for 15 minutes with him as he got the photos. Fritz was gone, and we talked, and I was alone with him. But really, you just couldn't get past how amazing he was, even back then. When you're in the room with him, he was very meditative and just so handsome and so nice. He was just so soft-spoken. He barely spoke above a whisper, kind of like he does on his films. And, so I have a major just fascination, and he is my favorite filmmaker, $1 Million Baby and Unforgiven. He's my favorite director. I never got a chance to work for him again, but how I wish.
Yeah, he's done a great bunch of films. Still working today, too. Like, it's just impressive, his drive. Yeah, here he is in his mid-80s here in 2017, and just this drive, he just keeps on going. He
is the ultimate movie star. When you watch him, now, we saw it at the Astor, and the Astor is an oversized, huge, massive screen. And I never realized till we saw the Gauntlet at the Astor, his face just everything about his face. So I then started watching some of his other movies, like The Eiger Sanction, and he is just the consummate, perfect movie star. Everything about him, everything about his look, he just surpasses everyone. And I just adore him, and I just think he's brilliant. Just to think that now for my stunt, I have a photo, and I'll send it over, where he's on the ground and he's showing me how he wanted me to land, and he wanted me to sit up, and you actually saw me see this train go by. But my stunt was so crazy and out of control. By the time I flew off the gravitational force, and the time it flipped me so fast, I wasn't able to end this stunt the way that he wanted me to sit up and kind of look at it like it had taken off. But he went over the stunt with me, even though his stunt coordinator, who has still been his stunt coordinator all these years, Buddy Van Horn, and he's the man who hired me, and the man who put my name in for me to be hired was Paul Stader from the stunt school that had trained me in all of these stunts, and Paul Stader discovered me. And Buddy Van Horn, he was there, but Clint Eastwood basically is a hands-on director. He told me everything he wanted me to do.
Cool. Another film that you did as well, I actually haven't seen this one here, but I'm certainly aware of it. It has a big cast with it, The Swarm.
Yes. Now, I was cast in that, and I had an acting role. I play one of the derailing train passengers, and I have a lot of screaming. I'm in a fire. My seat catches fire, and I go out the window. Now, that was Irwin Allen, and I'm also featured in Irwin Allen's Inside the Swarm, where you see my dive out the window after my seat gets caught on fire, but it's cut, my going out the train window is cut from the feature film, but it's in the documentary Inside the Swarm. And Irwin Allen, I worked for him. I had the chance to work for him on 2 films, and he was amazing. He is so brilliant, and he is so organized. He just came on the set, and I mean, that was a really big group of people. I'm seated right behind Fred Macmurray, Olivia De Havilland, and Ben Johnson. I'm in the scenes with them. And both these films, they chose my stunt on the Gauntlet going off the train and my shot of me behind these other 3, superstars to be in the press book and the lobby carts. And my husband, being this film historian, he found these. I never knew. I never knew that my jump was so popular that it's all over the place with just a photo of Sandra Locke on the back of the motorcycle with Clint Eastwood and my jump off the train. And then in The Swarm, that my scene with a close-up of me with them is the lobby card that they used to sell the films. Irwin Allen he is so brilliant, and what's interesting is that the week that the Swarm was being filmed, and they built a train on the lot there at Warner Brothers, and they put up the projection. That's when they were still using projections, where they would film the countryside, and we're inside the train being thrown around and all of this, and then the projector is photographing a countryside. We're not really on the train going across the countryside. And a real train derailing took place that week, so I brought it in with the newspaper, and he was so thrilled, Irwin Allen, that I had seen a real train derailment and gotten the newspaper clipping, and he was just thrilled to get that week.
It's interesting you mentioned some of these actors, too. Olivia De Havilland, here we are in 2017. She's still alive, and she's 100 years old.
I know it.
I mean, she was in Gone with the Wind.
I just saw her birthday, and oh, my God, she was so beautiful in her younger years, and she was just amazing. She was very professional and very feminine, It was wonderful working with her. Just absolutely wonderful.
Yes,
And
you.
Irwin Allen, he kind of took a special interest in me. And at the end of Inside the Swarm, you actually see him a close-up give me a hug after my jump off the train. And they used that as the title. And I'll send that over to you. You'll see him hugging me and Inside the Swarm. And that was for a young stunt actress. See, I was serious about acting from the day that I started acting in college. So even though I did these stunts, I'm very, very well known as an actress and respected as an actress. And that's what the Star magazine article talked about, was that she titled it, the subtitle was "Shapely Stunt Girl is now a real actress." And I was one of the first to come from stunts to just about make that break as a really respected actress. I was one of the first to get those kind of roles. Stunt girls didn't get the roles I got in Hellhole and the roles I got on TV in Scarecrow, Mrs. King and stuff. Stunt girls didn't get those roles, but see, I was a trained actress in 1979, and you were going to ask about Airport 79. I met Victor French of Little House on the Prairie and Highway to Heaven with Michael Landon, the co-star, and he was Lee J. Cobb's son-in-law. And I studied acting with him and Jeff Corey, who was in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, for 3 years. And so I'm really trained as an actress. I have a book. I have got a 3-series ebook that's just landed a publisher that's going to be published on the craft of acting, coming from me, and with appearances in 150 film and TV shows. I was both a stunt girl, a stunt actress, and an actress. I have a lot to say about acting after 40 years of, dedicating my life to it.
Yeah. And you mentioned Fred MacMurray and Ben Johnson,
Yeah.
two other legendary names. What were your memories of them?
They were just great. And Fred MacMurray, what I have to say about him is that he was always ready, right there, just 100% there in the scenes that we've shot, that I was in with him in the Swarm. He was, what I mean by 100% there is always on his mark, always ready and performing. He was like what I would call a flawless performer. And I think someone like, Ron Howard, that grew up with him, part of the reason that Ron Howard getting that early, break, that's what helped make him, because he learned from the best.
Yeah, and this film had a large cast in it. Michael Caine, Catherine Ross.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Now,
Henry Fonda.
Michael Caine I worked with on Beyond the Poseidon, and he is the most charming of anyone I've worked with. I doubled Shirley Jones on Beyond the Poseidon Adventure for Irwin Allen again, and I did all the underwater work for her, and I did a lot of jumps over holes and climbing along the ship, and that was pretty exciting. And then Shirley, I looked so much like her. I have a photo that I'll send over where I'm standing with her. I looked just like her, looking in her face. It was like I was looking in my mom's face that year of the Beyond the Poseidon, and she liked my work so much on Beyond the Poseidon Adventure that she requested me to do stunts for her on her series Shirley.
Okay.
Now, that was a short-lived series, but still, you just don't get more feminine, gracious, glamorous than Shirley Jones and Olivia De Havilland. Of all actresses I've doubled or worked with, those two are like the epitome of grace. Now, I also doubled Priscilla Presley, and she also, the carriage of Shirley Jones, you stand next to her. Everything about her is just held perfectly, just perfect sophistication, perfect class. So I was pretty darn lucky. I was so lucky.
What did you double for Priscilla Presley for?
I did a Fall Guy for her, and it was the one Manhunter. I did a fight scene, and they break away table on my head and rode in the helicopter. And the day I met Priscilla Presley, she really was the most beautiful woman in the world. She was, it's true. I mean, I have yet to look at anyone and go, oh my God, you really are one of the most beautiful women in the world. And, like I doubled Morgan Fairchild, also just stunning, just unbelievably beautiful, chiseled features. But Priscilla Presley, she was so beautiful, and she was so nice. And all I could say to her is, oh, we loved Elvis so much. He was our favorite. My mom saw him in concert. I just kept talking about Elvis, and he had already died by then. And Elvis died on my birthday. And
Wow.
I'm a singer today, and I'm born the same day as Madonna. And Madonna has said Elvis died on her birthday in 1977.
Wow. Yeah, Priscilla Presley also went on to do those Naked Gun movies, where she exercised her comic chops.
Wasn't she great in them? She was so great. I'd love to see her again. Shirley Jones, I was in touch with Marty Ingalls through the years, which was her husband, and he recently passed.
Yeah, and you were also in Camcord Airport 70 as well.
79.
Oh, 79. Okay, I got that written down wrong. 79. I have that the round circle of the 9 is a little bit too big on the paper I wrote, so kind of overlapped that last little part of it. So yeah, Airport 79.
Airport 79, I had an acting role, and I also was hired as a stunt actress and an acting role with dialogue. And unfortunately, my dialogue scene got cut, which is a really big bummer, because I did all the stunt acting stuff, and I'm in the back of the plane with George Kennedy, and they blew the back of the airplane out, and a wind machine came in, and I was thrown all around the back of that plane, and I was hanging by my seat. All of that is cut from the movie. And Airport 79, I think, is one of the worst edited of the airport movies of all of them. And so then I survive, and at the end of the movie, my character gets off the plane, and I start inquiring about my luggage, and I'm in a little bit of a frazzled, frantic mess because of the stunt, and that was cut. So that could have really, really been something that would have been wonderful for my reel and could have helped me more, but that's part of what the book is about. My book talks about landing these readings. Like, I was up to play Supergirl, and I got interviewed, and had I landed Supergirl, imagine the difference in my life. I was up for a series regular on Santa Barbara, the soap Santa Barbara, and I got beat out. Other Lou Diamond Phillips transit film, I was almost landed that bag lady in the film that flips out. And, so you miss out on as many things as you get.
Well, Airport 79 kind of met its cup of comes because, Airplane kind of made fun of that.
Yes. Yes, that's true. And I like that Airplane movie. It cracked me up.
Oh, it still makes me laugh to this day, and of course it launched a whole new career for Leslie Nielsen.
Yes, it did. And he's amazing. And he's, like you said, the Naked Gun movies, and Priscilla just so amazing. And I'm so happy to see that she was able to make her own mark with her acting and her books, and her daughter with her music. I understand Priscilla just recently recorded a song somehow, was in the studio recording something. I don't know what it is, but I'd love to hear her sing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she had that great little moment in The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, where she was in the shower singing, and yet you got this assassin outside putting the silencer on his gun, and he's getting so caught up in her voice, he starts singing along.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yes, I remember that.
And that's where Leslie Nielsen comes on. They start battling each other with like a hairdryer, electric toothbrush.
That's right. That's right. Oh, that was funny. Just great.
Yeah. And you also were in The Incredible Shrinking Woman, which I haven't seen for a long time, but I saw it growing up with, Lily Tomlin and Charles Grodin, and of course a very large gorilla.
Yes. Now, I had an acting role in that, and I also did what's funny is that I was Angelina Jolie before she was, only my roles weren't as large. I got cast in these roles, and then I also did my own stunt. And I also did stunts for over 100 of the most famous women of the day. And I was able to step into all their shoes and all their clothing and all their wigs and be them. So not only did I do my own stunts, but I did stunts for everyone those 12 years. And so on Incredible Shrinking Woman, and I do have pictures of all of this that I'll send over to you of all that we've talked about and everything. And I play the screaming shopper in the market where the gorilla is chasing me, and I'm falling and slipping and sliding, and that portion of my scene was cut out, but you catch me coming out of the store and a fall in the street as some go by. But I did this incredible chase through the whole market, looking back behind me, and he's on top of me, and so I'm a screaming shopper in that. Now, I did have an interesting parallel here that I'm still acting today. I have just finished 5 roles, and I just got my first lead role in a series, but it's an animated series, and it's called Galactic Blitz, and I play the PhD in physics and an ex-Marine, Dr. Tiffany. And I did all of the episodes in season 1 of that, and I've just finished 5 other SAG roles. So I'm someone who's still acting. I've never stopped. And then I just won 2 nights ago while we were in Las Vegas. I won Most Inspirational Song, the Best of Las Vegas 2017, for a song called Catherine Davis Take 2, which is a title track to a primetime sitcom I've created that I star in, that's about a middle-aged actress and pop singer and her life today based on my life. But what I had started to say regarding doing my own stunts before Angelina Jolie did stunts and was on the scene is that people don't realize that, but in Woody Allen's Sleeper,
Yep.
did you know that Sylvester Stallone played a thug?
Yep,
and
I did.
And you see him for one brief moment run through the train or whatever as a thug. And he, and so imagine if my books takes off and I sell my sitcom all these years, 40 years in the making. Here's Marneen Fields finally, after all these 150 other shows, and so you never know, and that's why I won't quit. I wouldn't quit now. I'm closer now than ever before.
Yeah, I would encourage you to keep going. And so far, your stories have been pretty amazing. I can see why Steve Joyner wanted you to come on here. It's just
yes. I have a story like nobody else because it's just amazing, and the survival aspect to it. And then I was recently on I booked 2 TV shows in Las Vegas along with winning the award, and a red carpet interview where I sing part of the song. And then before I left Los Angeles to come back, I was on The Power of Voices, and she said what she found most amazing about my life and my story was my ability to transform myself into these, the acting and the singing and the writing after all these stunts and this horrible car accident and stuff. And, I just kept going, and because I was inspired by men like Victor French and men like Paul Stater who believed in me, and all these directors, you can't stand next to Irwin Allen or Clint Eastwood without going, my God, maybe I could do that one day, and so, but I've my life has had a lot of misfortune, and then, they say you can't sing the blues unless you've lived them, and I have really gone through a cycle where near death, crawling on my stomach, losing everything, thinking I'd never walk again, I'd never perform. This is what got me Best Blues Artist of the Year in 2012 and 2014.
Yes.
Tell
us about Hellhole.
Well, now, Hellhole was my big breakout role, and it should have launched my career, but I had the car accident. Hellhole was the big co-star role that I landed, and a first for a girl coming from Stunts. I have such a large part in that film as the insanity victim who receives the chemical lobotomy from Mary Warnov and Marjo Gortner. Now, have you seen the film?
I haven't, no, but I listed it because I knew you had a large part in it. I love Mary Warnov, though. I am definitely familiar with her from Rock and Roll High School and among other films.
She's amazing. She is just sensational in everything that she does. And my husband has actually just landed a publisher for a Marjo Gortner book, The Films of Marjo Gortner. And we're very excited about that he's writing this book, and I have an interview in it of working with Marjo in Hellhole. But the film has some poor taste nudity. It has some corny stuff in it. But it takes place in an insane asylum. It's a woman's in prison film. But my character, it's really serious stuff. And I studied acting and did theater. I was in 15 theatrical productions in small theater in the Los Angeles area of every size. And my career is about every size. I've never turned down anything. That's why I'm where I'm at. I was screaming shopper or co-star or lead vocalist now in my music videos and lead actress and etc. But I will take, if I'm going to land it, they're going to pick me on my SAG card, I'm going to take it. I don't say, no, I'm too good for that. I'm not going to take that commercial, or I'm not going to do this. And that's one of the reasons I have such a vast array of experiences that I didn't turn things down. But Hellhole was my big breakout role. I studied acting 8 years. I performed in these 15 theatrical productions, playing every kind of role imaginable. And it is fantastic, and I'm proud of the work, and I stand behind it because it took me 8 years to land a role that size, because I was up against the thing of, oh, you did stunts, what makes you think you can do this? And what I've tried to do my entire career, and if anyone listening to this, if they get one point, don't let other people limit your dreams. Don't let other people tell you that if you've got a dream and and you've studied this acting or you've trained to be this singer, don't let anyone say you can't do it. I'll sing till the day I die. It's all I ever wanted to be as a young child, was a famous singer, and no one will ever keep me from singing, because what I learned was my voice, I sing many of the songs that have been big hits as well as the original vocalist. If I sing them almost as well or as well as the original vocalist, I deserve to be able to be up there singing if that's what I love doing more than anything else. And it goes the same with the acting. Hellhole is an amazing film. It just came out on Blu-ray. It's a really good film, too. The plot and everything if you watch it and you're really looking at the story, but then they've thrown in a lot of stuff that didn't need to be there that brought the film down. But it's it's better than a lot of different films of that same horror, women in prison genre that you've seen, and it helped get me. James Fargo, who directed Clint Eastwood in many films in the early career, I got called in to do a Scarecrow Mrs. King to play a role, and I just so happened to have been given a clip of my scenes from Hellhole from the producer, Louis Arkoff, and I took them with me to Warner Brothers that day, called in by Paul Wagner of 90210 Beverly Hills, and who's in the room directing the Scarecrow episode, but James Fargo. And so I was able to say, well, I just finished this film, and here's my clip of it. He picked me on the spot after seeing my work in Hellhole.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Yeah, I've got to see Hellhole. That's something I've got to look at.
And I'd love to hear your opinion after, because you have a film knowledge like my husband and a film-based video show. So after you watch Hellhole, because we're going to be doing a screening here, an introduction in Australia. My husband loves Hellhole. It's a big project for us coming up around May or June. We're going to rent a theater, and we're going to do an introduction where he asks me questions and I talk about it and talk about the process of acting and the character and what it was like to work with Mary Warnov. And Mary Warnov, there's a scene where I'm taken to Hellhole. I throw a fit in the cafeteria, and you can see a lot of my dexterous talent in Hellhole. I set up a complete table area. First, I walk full speed across plates of food, and you know how slippery that is, but my gymnastics. Then I jump to a counter, and I set up these glasses and trays to break and fall all over me. I could have easily slipped on them, but I was trained to put in extra things like this. And then I speak in tongues also. Now, Marshall Gortner, in his early career, I don't know if you know about him, but he was a child evangelist. And so he gave me some pointers on how to speak in tongues.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking up Hellhole here right now. 1985 that came out.
Yeah, it was 85. And Mary Warnov, as I'm taken to Hellhole, they had cut one of my scenes that had quite a bit of dialogue, and it was, who do you think I am? And I say the devil, and she says, there's this little, and I cry. Well, Pierre de Moreau, the director, he took it in a long shot. So there were just great tears and everything, and he talked to me afterward, and he said, I really should have started on the close-up because you gave so much. And one of the things is when you're an actor, if you give it all in the first take of the tears and stuff, it's hard to bring all that back. Now, the scene still works, of course, but not what it was in that long shot. And when in the cafeteria, when I start the fit throwing, I turn around. For some reason, I had thought they were going to cast a short, overweight nurse or something to come in the room. Mary Warnov walks in, and she's like a supermodel.
Yep.
She's like over 6 foot tall and gorgeous, and so that was. She's done some wonderful work.
I noticed looking over your credits there, like I know I jotted down some stuff, but there's some movies that you just did stunts in as well. And I noticed The Howling on here. Now, I've done 2 interviews from The Howling. I've had Dee Wallace on here, and I've had Belinda Belansky on here twice.
I doubled both of them on The Howling. I did stunt. I was the only stunt girl on The Howling, and I did stunts for both the women there on The Howling. And I doubled Dee. Dee asked for me on another show, Tender Warriors. I doubled Dee quite a few times in my career. She's great.
I love Dee, and I love Belinda Belansky as well. I'm still in touch with both of them. I've got Belinda on Facebook, and I just think she's a real sweetheart.
Yeah, and she's wonderful in The Howling.
Yeah.
I love her role. I thought she was great.
I always
And
felt
Dee, too,
bad.
that voice, and so The Howling's kind of a masterpiece, and I
Yeah.
did go to the 25-year reunion, and they talked on stage with Joe Dante. And the scene that's most memorable of everybody on The Howling for me is that I'm in that car when the werewolf is trying to get in, doubling Dee Wallace, and we run from the car, and there's an explosion.
Okay. Yeah.
And all night we raced around back there with the werewolf. And so I went up to I went up to Joe Dante at the screening, the 25-year reunion or 35, I think it was just a year or two ago. So it would have been 35-year reunion. And it was held at Grauman's Chinese Theater. Well, he says, I remember you in the car that night. And that was just great. And he was just wonderful.
And I noticed, too, you did stunts in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
Yes, and I did some amazing stunts in that. Now, that I was hired for that by stunt director Dan Bradley, and his career has went off the charts since Nightmare on Elm Street 2. He has worked for Spielberg. He has worked for, he's done the James Bond with the new James Bond.
Daniel Craig.
And, yeah, Daniel Craig. And he has done all the Harrison Ford stuff and all the Spider-Mans. I mean, it is amazing what Dan Bradley has done as a stunt director. It's just great. And so in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I did all the stunts for Kim Meyer, who's the lead of the film. And I'm in that rape scene in the house where he comes around the corner and he throws her to the ground, and it's like a slippery fish, and we're wrestling on the ground, and I'm trying to get away from him, and I kick him, and he grabs me and pulls me. And again, I've got photos of everything I'll send over that you will just love for your display. And then I also do, now they didn't film it right, but I have a still of it where I'm running across the catwalk, and the catwalk breaks away, and I hang by one arm and flip to the other arm as her up there in the fire sequence when Freddy's coming through the catwalk. So that was pretty exciting stuff, and they loved my fight scene with Freddy, and Dan Bradley, he created it, and then they put her in shorts. What's really interesting is that a lot of times they'll dress the actresses in shorts or something, where their legs, and my legs got all bruised because of Freddy's fingernails, and he did that fight with me himself, Robert Englund, and he was wonderful.
And it also says here you doubled for Melanie Griffith, and she's the Army now.
Yes, I doubled for Melanie Griffith, and she's an Academy Award winner, I think, isn't she? Academy Award.
I can look. I don't recall. Let me see. Looking on her Internet Movie
or
database.
Else she has been nominated. I doubled Melanie Griffith on. She's in the Army now, and I play a scene where she has an argument with her boyfriend in a rolling Jeep, and I'm hanging out of the Jeep and reaching up to this big semi truck. And it wasn't much. I'm in that whole Jeep, though, for her, and I didn't do those kinds of things. I usually am the one who was doing the falls or the fights or all of this for everybody. And one of my big things is Stanley Kramer cast me in The Runner Stumbles, and I play the role of the sick nun who Dick Van Dyke carries through the fire.
Okay.
And that was very, very exciting because Stanley Kramer, he cast me himself in that role. So, you can see, I've worked with a lot of A-list top people. On The Man from Atlantis, I actually dive out of a helicopter to save Patrick Duffy out of a helicopter into a swimming pool. And I broke in doing a lot of, big high dives and things and doubling the star on there, which was Belinda Montgomery on The Man from Atlantis. But I got to meet Patrick Duffy, and our paths have crossed several times through the years. And he's getting ready to write a book on Man from Atlantis. He's doing something else with Man from Atlantis this many years later.
Yeah, I was just looking at Melanie Griffith, Working Girl. She was nominated for an Oscar and several other awards, and she won the Golden Globe. So, yep, she's...
Oh, she won the Golden Globe. Okay, yeah. Oh, she's amazing. She's great.
Yep. Wow. Yeah, you got quite an amazing story, and that book, when you get that out, that's going to be an amazing read.
Yeah, the book is goes into, what the book is about. Cartwheels and Halos, a true Marneen Lynne Fields story, is, first of all, I'm severely hearing impaired, and I lost my hearing at 18, and I still went on to do all of these amazing things with this blindness in, hearing. It's the same as if you're blind in one eye, or if you have severe, hearing impairment. But what my book is about is coming in touch with your true calling in the wake of your childhood dreams during terrible tragedy and setback, which is what my life has been, is that car accident was really a blessing in disguise, because I would have probably just kept doing stunts and taking whatever acting roles I could get, but that wasn't where my true love was. And I feel that the book has some strong connotations with, when you're on the wrong path, God will take drastic actions in your life to make sure you're on the right path.
Yes, you will, yeah.
And there's a lot to be said for that. And in my life, it really has been very true.
How long's it taken you to write this book?
Well, I started the book back in, I started documenting it and writing stories and everything about it shortly after the car accident and in the 1990s. But it wasn't until I met John, and what's really interesting about my interview with you today is that John Harrison, my husband, he writes for a publication called Wang's Chop, and it's a magazine book. I mean, it's an actual book. And he was doing an article on the last big disaster movies, which were Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, The Swarm, Airport 79, and he got my name from another guy on Facebook, and John contacted me via email to see if I would do an interview that he had noticed. He did what you've done. He saw that I had been on all of these films. So while he did the article on me for the disaster films, we really clicked. And I said, I have another book about my life that I've been working on for years. Would you want to be the film historian on that book? Well, he's designed the book cover. When we hang up, I'll send you the link to the book page so that you can see the design on it, and I'll send you a bunch of stuff to the email. And he also, the lady you mentioned that was in The Howling, Belinda, she was an actress on 2 films with Marjoe Gortner. So my husband recently interviewed her about her work with Marjoe for his book on the films of Marjoe Gortner.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty cool. And so John, he's just perfect to do the film, and he's such a wonderful film historian.
So
you might actually like to interview him on one of your shows. I don't know.
Oh, that's definitely a possibility. Yes, absolutely. I've had authors on here before too.
I will connect you guys via Facebook. He knows I'm on the reading with you today.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. No, we can do that. Absolutely. Um, I was gonna say too, is that complicated arranging this just perfectly, or did you have a certain mindset going into it, how you wanted the book to go?
Well, it pretty much just rolls out of me. The same with my songs. I'll get up in the middle of the night and I'll just get my pen and I'll write something like, this strong attraction between us cannot be denied. Not until I'm in your arms will I truly feel alive. I can blame it on the moon and the stars, why my passions run wild. I'm caught up in uncontrollable ecstasy, and only your touch can set me free. I just will just it just rolls out of me. So organizational wise, everything is already written, and it's all been written for years and years because I would just, keep going on it. The thing is I'm now perfecting it and polishing it and putting it down, and it's pretty easy when it comes to the book. That portion of my book is because it's going to tell the story. It's basically chronological of what happened, but all I ever wanted to be was a singer. And as a little girl, I remember the day they passed out instruments at school. And
Oh
I
yeah.
learned the first song. The day they gave the first song in the round, my dad was a square dance caller. And so that's all I wanted. And then in college, I was practicing gymnastics to Elton John because the day I heard your song, it changed my life. So the beginning of the book starts with the day your song became my song. But then now cut ahead to 2012, and I meet a London composer of Shadows, one of my big hits, and I contact record producer Stuart Epps of early Elton John and Led Zeppelin fame, and he decides to produce my first single, Shadows. And here, Elton John is the reason I'm a songwriter, because once I heard your song, all I ever had to do, was write a song. That's all I wanted to do was sing your song and write a song like your song. And so it took me all those years to realize that dream. And to have Elton John's producer as my producer, you can't believe. You just don't know how that dream has made everything in my life worthwhile.
Wow, that is fantastic. And who'd you say that author was that you would go connect me with?
What's that now?
Who's the author you said you were going to connect me with?
My husband, John Harrison.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
he could come on
he's a
here.
film historian. His interview won't be like mine. Okay, my interview is all these jobs I did and what I performed and my inspiration as a songwriter and a composer. John is a real film historian, and if you want to talk to him about James Bond films, he knows everyone, every character, why they were written, what the plots were. You will get a great interview from him, a technical, detailed, descriptive interview of the film facts, the facts about these different movies. And he's fascinating to listen to. It's just brilliant on whether you want the alien films or where with me, I've worked on these films and the blood, sweat, and tears and the emotion as an actress and a singer. It's a completely different interview.
You know what? I'd be interested to have him on here. Absolutely. In fact,
yeah, he'd be great. He would be great to talk to. And we were just on a radio show out here together, which was Film Buff's Forecast at the BRR station, 102.7 FM in Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
And John used to do film reviews for that radio station.
I do film reviews as well.
I thought you probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it since 1996, and I started here at CHSR in 2005, and then we started podcasting. I started podcasting in 2015, and you are my
Wonderful.
Yeah, you're my 105th interview I've done since.
Wow.
Yep.
That's great.
I've done a lot, and I've said, as I've said, I had Belinda Belansky on here twice, and I've had a ton of people, and just earlier today I did my second interview with somebody from the Ray Harryhausen Foundation. I had the guy on last year, and I had him on here today, and you know, it's just been a blast, and all the interesting talents and people that I've gotten to interview. And in fact, one of my favorite Canadian actors, her manager sends me sends a lot of his clients to me, and I also have, of course, Steve Joyner sends me a lot of contacts too, and it's always interesting. Some of the connections, and of course a lot of guests I find on my own as well. So it's been great that way.
That's great. That's just super. And also you did Dee Wallace.
I did Dee Wallace. Yes, I did. That was
super.
Yeah, that was November of 2015. I had Dee Wallace on. We talked E.T. and The Howling and all the other stuff she did. I might reach out to Dee and have her on again, because E.T. is going to be 35 this year, and I know I've since emailed her since the interview. Not a lot, but I've interviewed her a few times. I know she still remembers me, so I might see if she wants to come back on. And I know she's got a web page, and she does a lot of different stuff on that. So might be an interesting time to reconnect and see what's new with her as well. She actually did a film up here called Killing Ruth: The Snuff Diaries. Snuff Dialogues, excuse me. Snuff Dialogues, I guess it was called. And it was interesting seeing her in a film that was shot up this way. And it's not a film that was seen by a lot of people, but I saw it at the film festival here, and one of the filmmakers that was involved with it said that she was really easy to work with.
Oh, she's great. There's just nobody better to work with. She is so wonderful. And I was so thrilled when she asked for me to double her again. And she's just, last I saw, or I've lost touch with her through the years, but she was doing some self-help type of seminars.
She's still doing those.
You can just see where she's perfect for that also.
Yep, but that was where that's where I contact her now, is through that. So I had a really good interview. That interview is actually up on my YouTube channel right now. Actually, she was a lot of fun to talk to. I know she had some grueling experiences working on Cujo, and although she loved doing the movie. I know it was awfully hard experience. So she told some great stories. But,
yeah, I didn't know her then, and I've never seen Cujo, but I can imagine what that's just it. These films, they're very, very difficult. They're very grueling. They're very, especially for someone that's, the star that's in the lead role, like she's been in so many. The demands on the performer are tremendous.
Yeah.
And the number of takes they do over and over, and you think it looks simple when it's all put together and you're watching it, but it is not. It's very grueling, very demanding, and the business is as hard as everyone wants to tell you it is. When you're first getting in the business, and you're young and you're naive, you think, oh, I can do it. And look at today. The competition today is even far greater.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
And people's attention spans and everything, it's just, I don't know if you'll see another person like a Clint Eastwood come out of, he was just born at the perfect time and place where he was able to get in on the spaghetti westerns and then make a move. I'm not sure you'll ever see another actor be able to accomplish what he has due to the level of competition and how fickle everything is, or even the Stones. I'm not sure you'll see a band that'll ever reach the level of the Stones in the years to come. There's too short of an attention span and too much competition.
Yeah, that is. It kind of reminds me, actually. Movies are being released so fast, and they come out on DVD and Blu-ray almost immediately after they left theaters. Whereas back in the olden days, a movie would come out, and if it was successful, it could play for several months. And then you wouldn't see it on DVD or out there to rent for about a year. And now it's
I know, this is crazy how that happens. And Hellhole was this way. Hellhole just missed this whole, it just now comes out on Blu-ray. It's crazy. And it just missed that whole video. It just missed it. Hellhole could have really done something.
Yeah.
And it didn't, because it didn't have the opportunities. It played in the theaters like 2 weeks, and it just didn't get the play. It didn't get the distribution. It missed going to video. It didn't get the TV play, and it just didn't. It didn't get what it was. But then, that's why I want to talk to you after you see it, is because when you see some of the stuff that was thrown in, you can see how the movie got panned and wasn't taken seriously. But Ray Sharkey's in it.
Yeah. I'll have to get a look at that at some point, and have your husband on here as well, and
oh yeah, he'd be great.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Actually, we can arrange that. Probably within the next week or so, we could do that.
I'll hook you up with him on Facebook as soon as we hang up.
Yeah, we can do that. Well, is there any other things you want to share before we close out?
Oh my God, I'm exhausted. No, I told so much. I told everything. I can't think of anything else. I got the story about Elton John's producer in, which is really the big thing in my life, and my recent award.
Mm-hmm.
I've had 15 nominations for awards in music and won 5. I guess the other night made my 6th win for my music, and I've hit the top of the music internet charts 5 times as a singer and a songwriter, and I've got 5 new singles coming out, and along with the books, and 15 music, literary, film, screenplays, all that'll release that I'm the sole creator of, that'll be launching forward. I'm Heavenly Waterfall Song Publishing and Productions, and people can like my Facebook page. That is my production company for updates of everything coming forward with me. And IMDb is the best place to find me and see all my credits under Marneen Fields. And
Okay.
that I guess covers everything.
Well, you've been every bit the compelling and exciting guest that Steve Joyner said you were going to be, and he's in for a
Thank
treat.
you.
Yeah, he's in for a treat when he gets you on Curtain Call. He's in for a great interview with you. This has been exciting, and I remember looking up some of your work, and even online before I did the interview to get a little fresher. But absolutely, I'm going to check out Hellhole, and maybe sometime down the line I'll have you back on and get your husband on here shortly as well.
Sure, you can have me on as soon as we release the book, as soon as the book is published. That'll be great. That would be, 6 or 8 months from now. And let's see. So there was one other thing I was going to ask you.
Okay.
I guess it slipped my mind. And anyway, I've really enjoyed talking to you. So, I published, I promoted this on my one Facebook page. I left a couple posts that I was looking forward to the interview with you today, but I didn't tag you because I wanted to make sure that we spoke before I tagged you. So it's on my wall. And,
okay.
But thanks so much. I love talking to you.
Yeah, this'll like I said, this is being recorded right now. And I ask for your extreme patience in waiting for it because it probably won't be aired until about September. Because I've got you're
fine.
you're
Just
number
let me
one.
know when it's going to be.
Yeah,
that's
you're number 105, and I got number 70 playing this weekend. Sometimes when an interview like ours is actually approaching almost an hour and a half here, but I've had if I have a couple interviews that are an hour, like my show is 2 hours Sunday night. Sometimes I can put 2 interviews on. And then when we get one that's a little longer, like the one with you, I can also play some music on there as well. So it all works out, and yeah, it's.
Well, you know what would be great is if you played some of my music.
I could do
my
that.
Award-winning songs. I'll send them over in MP3. You'll love them. They're great. Stuart Epps of Elton John, he produced it, and I'll send you Shadows, and then I'll send you my Song of the Year win, Release My Love.
Absolutely.
I'll send you 3. They're only about 5 minutes each, the 3, so it'll probably take up the rest of the time.
Actually, you know what? That would be great. I'd probably play all 3 of them.
And actually, you could put on the one for your video, if you want to put the music videos there at the end or at the beginning, even that'd be great. They all have music videos.
Yeah, I'd be allowed to do that without any legalities or anything like that.
I'm giving you. I own them all, 100%. They're mine. So I've produced them, and I'm the lead vocalist. I've composed them. They're mine, so you don't need to have any that you absolutely can, and you will love them. They're fabulous. I have Steve Valenzuela, who is Kelly Clarkson's and Rod Stewart's sound engineer, as my record producer.
Oh, okay.
Other than Stuart Epps of Elton John. Yeah, these are big names behind me.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I'll send them over and you can pick. Look at them and say, I like this one. I'll put this one on. I won the GOD award for Everybody Hurts, my recording of REM's Everybody Hurts in a short film. And so I'll get all that to you. I'll let you go now then, since we're over time. And I didn't look at the clock, and I thought, okay.
Well, you know what? There's never overtime because, my longest interviews was 2 hours, so I just like to let people talk, and I don't like to pressure people with time. Usually an hour's standard, but if we go over, no big deal. My show's 2 hours. This will all fit in perfectly, all seamlessly, and I'll throw in some of your music in there as well.
You sound great. I love your voice, and you're very nice. I hope I inspired you.
Oh, you have, and I think you're going to inspire a lot of people that hear this as well. Now,
thank you.
Now, before you go, I was wondering if you would do a plug for my show.
Do what now?
Do a plug for my show, like where you state your...
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
What would you like me to say? That I have enjoyed being on Python's... it's Paradise, right? Python's
Yep.
Paradise.
Yeah, and my name's Greg Gilbert, and I'm from New Brunswick, Canada. You ready?
Great show, Greg Gilbert. I loved being on Python's Paradise. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, it was an absolute pleasure. And yes, we'll get your husband on here, and when your book is ready to be published, we'll have you on here again, Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, I'll hang up now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. God bless you.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, bye.